at 3 o'clock in the night, you've partied and people are just sitting, everybody's sitting. Now what? So yes, studies are going on. There are so many other classes. Party is also going on. And then there would be another party, there would be another thing. But now what? What do I do to have that delight? There was always this thirst for that delight. Somehow, there was something within that was not satisfied. And I was thirsting for something. When I was a child, I used to talk to Krishna. And I thought that Krishna was my friend.
Who is Krishna?
He is that invisible friend that is there to each human being, whether you believe it or not. You may call him Krishna, you may call him any other name. The source of all delight.
What is this yoga of love? Why is it important? How do you practice it in the context where you're sometimes struggling with relationships and human love?
The more I am rooted within and in connect with this source of love that is there within me, I can create that love around.
Mm-hmm. What does it mean to truly pray?
Just like a little child, when he is in distress, he calls out to her mother, no? And then the mother just listens to that call and she leaves everything in the kitchen or whatever she's doing and she will just come running. It is the same. It is just dependent on your sincere call.
Is mother an individual or is mother a consciousness?
That the more and more you surrender to that force which is there, whether you recognize it or not, she is the divine conscious force in each and every one. The more and more you get conscious of it, she activates.
This episode is a must for every seeker of divine love, every lover of Krishna, every lover of the divine Shakti, the divine mother. Priti Di oozes out love and radiance from herself. She's full of that beautiful flower of love. And this entire episode is like going deep inside her soul's well, full of that beautiful jasmine fragrance of love. So you will thoroughly enjoy listening to a long-term sadhak and seeker, educator and an artist, Priti Di. Thank you for joining us today.
Namaste.
Namaste. I wanted to begin with asking you to share about your journey for our viewers. I remember briefly learning about your journey and being very amazed, just thinking about a young girl as a sadhika traveling across the country without money. And that really fascinated me. I really thought about, already in today's day and age, it's very difficult for me to imagine as a woman doing something of this nature. I'm sure at that time it must have been even more difficult. So what was the calling inside of you that made you drawn towards the spiritual path? And then where was the juncture where the journey directly started leading towards Sri Aurobindo and the mother? So I would like to learn about your adventures of coming to Sri Aurobindo and the mother.
Well, I think it started long back. If you actually see, they were very small. The last that I remember when I was a child, I think going to school, I used to talk to Krishna. And I thought that Krishna was my friend. And I saw a lot of imperfections in my parents and also in everyone around. And I thought that I used to hear a lot of tales from my grandmother of Krishna. And there was a lot of bhakti in the family, in the persona of my grandmother. And my grandfather was a karma yogi who read the Bhagavad Gita and who take us to visit a lot of saints. So there was a lot of presence in the family. I remember taking baths because I grew up in Gujarat, in Narmada, and going to meet many, many saints on the banks of Narmada. So I don't know, is it because of that? But yes, there was a lot of influence. And so it was not puja, part, and that kind of ritual worship, but a lot of devotion. And so even if I have done some mischief at school, I would just pray that let my mom not know. I would just pray to Krishna that please, and something would happen. Always there were miracles that my mom would be. She was a very severe woman, and she was a disciplinarian. And so I was a little scared of her all the time. And so Krishna always came to my help. And somehow I had this relationship that he is my father. He is that father which everyone should have. Isn't he so perfect? He can do so many things. And so I think that continued for a very long time. And other, I mean, of course, I was a normal youth also. Growing up in a place like Ahmedabad, where the Gujaratis are um, they're very progressive in their thought. So I got exposed to art, architecture, and I I thought that somehow I wanted to achieve perfection in everything. And slowly, I also, there was my mother's best friend who was a Vedanti. She introduced me to Upanishads. She knew a Swamiji who was connected to the Dayanand mission. And that is the other one, and which is a parallel one, Swami Chinmayanand's mission, like that. So I used to go to his classes early in the morning, just like, you do a lot of classes. So that was also one of the classes that I used to go to. But it really, really interested me a lot. And more than I think the classes, it was Swamiji that started interesting me. The way he lived and he himself, his story fascinated me, that how he was an engineer and he left everything. He left everything and but yet he did not, I felt that he did not leave anything and he was so full of life. So that part attracted me, and that motivated me to go to the Upanishad classes. So all of these things started happening, and as an artist, that I was being groomed at home. I never went to art school, but I was groomed by an artist who used to come home, and the weekends we used to just go out in nature and paint. And I think that was a point where I used to be always in so much um, inner sync with this sense of delight that used to be there within me. I was so full of joy when I used to paint, and just sitting and looking at the trees, the sky, and just spending 4 to 5 hours painting. That was just so beautiful. So a lot of my teenage years went like that, studying and doing these various things, which were very enriching experiences, but it was not really leading me to that spirituality, which is like hardcore. But I think there was a thread running, in the background. And because I also used to be very interested in my normal youthful life, being with friends. We used to party also. I remember I had some friends from NID, and um, we used to want to make our parties also very perfect. So even the walls have to be well designed. We used to sit and paint for hours and make such beautiful designs on the wall so that the night parties could be so beautiful. And I enjoyed that part. Wow. And so But it was in those night parties I still remember. I think that was that point in my life that I used to think that at 3 o'clock in the night, you've partied and uh, everybody is into so people have their couples and people are just sitting, everybody's sitting. Now what? So yes, studies are going on. There are so many other classes. Upanishad classes also going on. Everything is going on. Party is also going on. But now what? What do I do to have that delight? So there was always this thirst for that delight. And I recognized that. And that was always, it was somehow, there was something within that was not satisfied. And I was thirsting for something. And then there would be another party, there would be another thing, but nothing was satisfying. And that's when there were many other uh, groups that I came into before I even met my guru. There was, I got initiated to this group called the Siddha Samadhi Yoga Program, which was started by Rishi Prabhakarji. He is just like we have Sri Ravi Shankar. He's a Guru Bhai of Sri Ravi Shankar, who had started in those days that program. And that program was based on the conversation between Shankaracharya ji and Mandan Mishra. So it was on this whole thing of who are you? And that made a very profound influence on me. And it was through interactions, and it was a very beautiful program, a 15-day program. And I participated in it. I not only participated in it, and I started doing the advanced programs. And I found something very beautiful in the whole program. And I became a teacher. I even went for their teacher training program. And I really liked it a lot. But again, I felt that there was something missing. It was still a program. And there was I think I was seeking for a life guru, someone who's so inspirational, that sense of perfection which Krishna had, that kind of a perfection. And that is when my guru walked into my life. And I think he used to come home because my mother used to have tuberculosis. She has died very young. So in those days, he used to come to, just be with her. But as a young girl, I think when I was in my 20s, early 20s, I used to feel a little intimidated by his presence because he was a sannyasi and he used to wear only this much in those days and totally bare chested, nothing. Like even a lot of the sannyasis wear gold or something, nothing was there, only one simple Rudraksh mala. And he was quite young. He was in his 50s, early 50s at that time. And so I would start feeling as if even I'm dressed too much. You're wearing your earrings or you're, into your youthful clothes. So I would just do pranam from far and I would just run away. But there was this one point where I came into contact with him, or rather, as Sri Aurobindo says, if the bhakta can also, in Synthesis of Yoga, he says, if the bhakta can find the Bhagwan, it is also the Bhagwan can find the bhakta. And that is what happened. He said that he had looked at me once in one of the Bhagavatams, which my mother, now she was getting very worried because I was being 24 and she wanted me to get married. And she thought that I was quite wild because I used to do various things. At one time, I'm a teacher in the Siddha Samadhi Yoga program. At another time, I'm also partying. So she used to think that this girl is a little too wild. And how will anyone marry her? So she knew this Guruji na. So she said ki iski shaadi karwa dijiye. So she thought that in Bhagavatam, there is an episode which is called the Rukmani Vivaha. So she said that, why don't you attend that? And if you attend that, you will find a nice, suitable husband like Krishna. So
that was a good bait for you.
yeah. So I went there. I said, okay, like a good daughter, I just listened to her, and but I knew I'm just going to shift out. So I went there and I sat, and then suddenly something happened, and I just left the place. They were all listening to the Bhagavatam. I was not interested because I knew what was the ulterior motive of my mother. So I left. And I think that day, Guruji observed me. He saw me for the first time because someone just left the Bhagavatam just like that. And it is 3 days after that, they were going to a temple town in near Ahmedabad. And my father called me out and he said that, would you like to come with us? And I said, no. It was at 6 o'clock in the morning. In 15 minutes, I do not know what happened to me. I told him, Papa, if you've still not left, I'm coming with you. And then I went with him. And since then, I was with my Guruji for 3 years constantly. Since that day onwards, I do not know what happened. I was no longer with my friends. I was no longer with anyone. I was just with my Guruji and I just wanted to be with him. That was the year 1998. And in that particular year, I heard the Srimad Bhagavatams. I was not at all into um, traditional Indian spirituality in that way. Of course, there was a lot of presence in the house, and there was a lot of the Bhagavad Gita was there, and the Ramayana was there, Krishna Bhakti was there. But traditionally, I was not really into it other than the Upanishads. And I actually heard the Srimad Bhagavatam in Hindi, which was not my, which was, of course, the spoken language in the house. But, otherwise, you're just speaking in English with your friends. So, and I was amazed at myself. I would sit there for 8 hours. And my Gurudev would sit in Padmasan for 4 hours, and then there was a break, and then again in the afternoon for 4 hours. I couldn't sit in Padmasan, but somehow my body found its alignment. And everything shifted for me. I could suddenly start understanding Sanskrit. And I had a very, very beautiful experience at that time of uh, that Krishna, whom I used to think was my inner friend. I saw him kind of blend into my Gurudev. And that was my first spiritual experience. And for me, from that day onwards, it was just, I fell into the seva of my Gurudev. I was a girl who did not know how to cook. There was always a cook in the house, and I did not know how to broom. I did not know how to do anything of those things because those things were not really taught in my kind of household. Either you pick it up, you see your mom doing, and all of that. But I just learned to do all of those things for the love of my Gurudev. And that's how I started. I just started following him wherever he went. And there were these, there was always this great silence that was felt when I was with him. So even if I had to sometimes ask him something, if he was so quiet from within that he could command that quietude in the outside also. So everything would just fall. So it was such a bliss to be with him, and it is now also. He's still alive. And it's a joy to be with him. So now that I know about Mother and Sri Aurobindo, I know that he's a realized saint. Of course, I know that, but his psychic is so much in the foreground, and it shines. So that is what he kind of totally changed my personality, my individuality, a lot of confusions which were there in me. And he taught me how to love God. And I don't know, it just came. The intensity to love God and to live a divine life, that's what started from there on. And then I just wanted to leave everything. I wanted to, but I think there was something in me which also didn't want to leave. So there were certain things that I had to fulfill. And so he, it was by his, um, he had, he told me that, why don't you get married? I think that you should get married. And even though things may not be he said, even though things may not be hunky dory or they may not be so perfect, I want you to live the life of a Jivan Mukta. That is what I see ordained for you. I was miserable. Because I thought that I would spend my life doing his seva, but that's where the twist in my life happened. And immediately I found my husband, and he also was very fond of my Gurudev. He also came to be, although he is a South Indian, he's a Tamilian, and it all somehow seemed that he also wanted to live a divine life. And that's what my Gurudev said, that till you both want to live a divine life, things will be all right within your family. And so that's how, and I was very, very certain, even after marriage, like my husband, even if he wanted to go for a film, I also used to like films. It's not that I don't like. But I think my intensity was so strong that we used to go to the cinema and I would just walk out. I would say, I cannot take it anymore. So, there were certain vibrations that I was not able to take. So, that was the intensity in those days that I had of being connected to the divine, and that great vairagya that had come within me. I don't say that is extremely great, but I think that was needed at that time, like a step out. My friends thought that my Guruji, he has done some black magic on me and all of those things. But now when they see me, they feel that my life is so different and they respect everything. So that is how life took a turn, and then marriage happened. And then it was at that time, I think slowly Sri Aurobindo and the mother also started entering into my life. So when I think I was in Mumbai, I had moved from Ahmedabad to Mumbai, and I think I first attended Shraddhaluda's lecture in Sophia College. So that must be when I was 28 or 29. And then I started attending the yogasana classes of Jahangir Palkiwala. So everything, like as if Mother and Sri Aurobindo are now welcoming in to their new world, because I wanted to live a divine life. No, I had not heard about any of the books of Sri Aurobindo or anything. Just that outside Shraddhaluda's lecture, there were some books kept. And there were also some basic books. I don't think the Life Divine or anything was there. So I saw Sri Aurobindo's and Mother's photos there in Jahangir's class. But that also didn't do anything. It was not until I moved to Delhi and I entered the Delhi ashram. That's when I'm already, even after marriage, I told my husband that I'm not going to, I do not think that I'm going to, go out and earn, or I want to spend my life for the divine. So at that time it was for me, I don't even want to paint, although I used to paint so much. I don't want to do this. I only want to read the Upanishads and I want to do my japa and I want to do my sadhana. So 8 hours I used to do every day. So, and my husband was very supportive. I'm really in gratitude to him. And I did all of that. And then it is with all of that intensity of doing the traditional yoga, I came to Delhi, and my cousin was working in Mirambika. She was volunteering there. And she told me, Priti di, you love this place. I said, oh, okay. So, and actually, the moment I entered into I still remember that day when I entered into Delhi ashrams. I entered the gate and I went into the campus. It was so beautiful. It was, I I still remember I was just walking down the sunlit path. I was mesmerized by that vibration. All my year, I could only feel that with my Guruji or when I'm reading the Bhagavatam, those vibrations. I felt those same vibrations here in the very atmosphere. And then I wanted to be there more and more. And I told my cousin, I want to meet, she told me that an art teacher is required in Mirambika. I had no degrees in art. And I said, but why would they keep me? I do not have even a BFA. So she said, just meet them. They're very different. They're not interested in degrees. So this whole thing, I did not know anything about this education or about integral education. And I said, oh, they do not want my degrees. They do not respect that, but they would respect my art. She said, yeah, just get your art and just speak about it. And that's what I did. So Kamla Menon was the principal at that time. And I spent around 2 to 3 hours. I took my paintings, and I had done a lot of, I had done a 1.5 year program with SEPT. So I took all my certificates and all of those things. And she saw all of that. But she was not interested in that. She said, it seems like you are very passionate about the world of art. And she gave me a small book of Sri Aurobindo. And she said, just come. She gave me the timetable. She said, just come for the art classes and you'll be teaching this class. That's it. I was amazed at how welcoming someone can be. And I became an art teacher in Mirambika. But that was not it. There were so many things I learned there. It was as if spirituality was in action there. That's what I learned. And for me, that didn't exist. It was still a little different. It was still separate, no? Reading my Upanishads or my Bhagavad Gita or my time, my 8 hours. But here, I would spend around 3 to 4 hours, and that I felt that same thing. And that is when I started getting drawn more and more to Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. And I somehow Tara Didi, I do not know how, but she observed me and she asked that, would you like to work with me and compile a book? And that's when first I was very hesitant because I said, no, I have just come to Mirambika. I do not even know who's Tara Didi. And then I think somehow I just got into that mode of saying yes to her. And I'm very grateful to my husband, my partner, who actually motivated me to do that. She said, no, you do not know how great she is. And you work with her and you'll know. And I worked with her for almost a year with that book. And
what is that book?
Living with the Mother, the second book. So I compiled the whole book with her, and it was so beautiful. It was as if I was, it was as if Mother is welcoming me into her arms. And she straight away put me into Taradi's room, and such a personal touch. And she was so bindas. And her MacBook is lying on the desk, and she would say, "Bed jao," and "Karlo," and "Chai rak deti thi," and all of those things. And then whatever you need, and that's it. And I just had to record her stories, like how you did a podcast. I would be doing a podcast on her, and I would keep asking her questions. Then what happened, Taladi? Then what happened? And that's how then she would say, "Huh, this also happened, and this also happened." And then I would quickly, so I would record it, and then I would transcribe it, and then we would compile it. So that's how many of the stories came up that were there in that book. And it was as if I was there in Pondicherry at that time. It was the 1950s ka time when mother started French classes. Those were the years when mother was the most active in the ashram. So it was 1951 to 58. After that, mother went into her room. So I got to witness that whole period and actually hear about it. And it was like, I used to get these goosebumps. I'm like, was I there at that time? And I felt as if I was there, and I've not even visited Pondicherry so much, just been there once. And as if I know everything about Pondicherry. And that was my first initiation to the mother. That's it. So that's what your question was, right? How did you come into contact with Sri Aurobindo and the mother?
Thank you for sharing, and I really love what a beautiful way that you even shared your journey, your story. It is a very beautiful art to be able to even communicate like that. It comes from a very deep space. I have a lot of follow-up questions, but to begin with, you mentioned Sri Krishna and having that connection since childhood. As people grow into a scientific, rational mind, it becomes difficult for them to have this simplicity of personal connection with the divine. For instance, when I came to Sri Aurobindo and the mother, my roommate, she used to worship a stone, and she's a big bhakta of Krishna. Her mother is a big bhakta of Krishna. And I used to feel that at that time, not now, that time I used to feel that taking something away from the divine by calling him Krishna. I felt that the divine cannot be put in a form. All is in the divine, and the divine is in all. And I felt the moment you gave him a form and you started calling him whether Jesus or Krishna or whatever, I felt you are taking something away from him. But much later in my journey, I really started connecting with Krishna, and it's like the mind stopped existing. I couldn't rationally justify why I love Krishna, who is Krishna. I love dancing on Krishna songs. I love listening to Krishna bhajans and connecting with God, connecting with divine, as how Krishna can be a little child also. He can be your best friend also. He can be like your father also. He can be like your brother also. And in the most difficult times of my life, I used to sleep on Krishna's feet. That's one thing that I would never let go of. Who is Krishna? And the other day I was contemplating, maybe besides maybe Ram, Krishna are the two most spoken words in the world. And there is some magic about Krishna, like he enters your life and he completely sort of, and who is Krishna? If you had to explain it to somebody who's a little rational, a little scientific, like how I used to be, okay, you are limiting Bhagwan by doing all this. Who is Krishna and what is his power that he just, yeah.
So I'll start with a little. There's this. Now I have a child also, and she's a grown-up girl studying here in the ashram school. So when she was a child, we used to watch this British animation series called Charlie and Lola.
Okay.
In this girl Lola, I was very fascinated when I was watching it with her. She has an imaginary friend. And this friend is someone, he's imaginary and invisible, whom she can see, but no one else can see. And this friend helps her in everything and also helps her express things better, helps her in thinking better and planning things, organizing things, and even coming up with a lot of solutions. No? So, this is something that I think Krishna is. He is that invisible friend that is there to each human being, whether you believe it or not. You may call him Krishna, you may call him any other name. And in the Bhagavatam, with Krishna, they say that it is a tattva that you cannot even describe. It is indescribable. That is the tattva that he is. The source of all delight. That is why if you, when a person likes someone, what is that person liking? That person is liking that Krishna tattva that is there. He's a rasomaya. And that is why if we like to do something, you like to paint, what is that thing, the delight that is emerging is the Krishna. So that is the Krishna tattva. And the Anandamaya tattva. He is the Lord, the Anandamaya Lord. And that is why when we are happy, you want to dance, you want to paint, you want to be full of joy. And even the scientist who has made his discoveries, that delight, that eureka that you feel is Krishna. Because you feel that, no? When you have made a discovery. And what are you doing the discovery for? To feel something, to feel a sense of perfection. So he's also a sense of perfection that makes you feel complete, that makes you go towards perfection. That is Krishna for me. And I feel that was what was always pushing to go towards that perfection. You can limit him to a form, is that, blue skin and curly hair. But he's not only that. He is that, but not only that.
It's very beautiful how you described it. Sri Aurobindo calls Sri Krishna as the eternal personality of love and Ananda. And I loved how you were describing it. That brings me to my next question, which is love and devotion has played a very important part in your journey. In many ways, you were more guided. Of course, there was an element of reading of the Upanishads and reading of the Bhagavad Puranam, but somewhere you were also making decisions or charting out your trajectory based on the intuition you were receiving from the vibration of love. That's how I've been able to get it. And somewhere Krishna is also love. And Sri Aurobindo in Sense of Yoga calls love as the crown of yoga. Yes, the yoga of divine knowledge. Yes, the yoga of divine work. But ultimately for what? For
it is
love.
For that delight.
For that love. So if you can share, and at the same time, in my satsangs, majority of the questions I receive, perhaps because they're asking me, that's why they're asking, are relationship problems, are challenges with human love. and struggling with human love. In fact, I have found that to be a bigger question than swadharma, than, finding one's purpose. Bigger thing that people are seeking is happiness in relationships, even more than meaningful work. So on one hand is the complications with human love, with everybody in their own ways sort of struggling with. On the other hand, love is, a mother calls it the mighty vibration that has created the world. And Sri Aurobindo calls it, this is the crown of all yoga. What is this yoga of love? Why is it important? How do you practice it in the context where you're sometimes struggling with relationships and human love? Yeah, how can one bring love in that sacred, divine way in one's life?
I think the more one is rooted, if I talk for myself, the more I am rooted within and in connect with this source of love that is there within me, I can create that love around. It is this this psychic being that we have, which Mother is um, so in all her talks, she is urging everyone to go closer to their psychic and to live a psychic life. And I think that is the only solution to live a life that is guided by this inner divine. And the more and more that you get in connect with it, you can create an atmosphere of love around you, because it is like Krishna is called Navanita Chora. What is Navanit? Navanit is butter. So if you see that physical example, that okay, he's stealing butter of the gopikas, but it is not only that. If you look at the allegory behind it, he's stealing the soft hearts. And what is that soft hearts? He's stealing. So because the one who is closer to the psychic cannot be kadak, cannot be rigid, is very plastic, is very open, is very soft. That is one of the qualities of being very close to your psychic. And so the more and more you go closer, the more and more you invite the Krishna within you. The more and more the inner divine, whose name can be Krishna also, comes out. And then kind of he takes charge of your life.
The question, what I'm also trying to ask on behalf of, in some ways, the audience also, because it's a question that I receive many times, that how do you, like how you're saying that aspect of the element inside of you that just melts the ego, Now, if I am in a relationship where I am feeling dominated or I am feeling it's unfair, in that context, and I really just want to be an upasak, of divine love. And then I have this contradiction in my life. I'm sure the pathway is not to repress one's emotions or to just be superficially nice and polite. That's not the pathway. So, in a situation where I'm experiencing a certain difficulty, and yet I want to be a practitioner of love, how do I marry the two? How do I reconcile these two realities?
I think first most important thing is that even when because I am also living a family life, and it happens that the first thing is to quieten down and get in touch with your inner divine. Because if everything is jumping all around you, and then all you're going to see is negativities in everything. So first you have to see what space you are coming from. Are you coming from the space of the inner divine, from the psychic? So then the law of the psychic will govern. And that itself will show you. And I have seen that it happen, that when that is so much in the foreground, things around also change. Circumstances change. I have seen it in my very life. Everything changes around you, but it's on you. It's totally on you. And then to blame the whole world, because when we see imperfections in other people, it could be your husband, your child, your parents. There are these n number of imperfections lying within you also. So, but the psychic is not dependent on those imperfections. It has come to give light to them, to help transform that. So it is up to you. What do you want?
The way I also sort of see it is that if one can step back and be in that space on the inside, one doesn't necessarily have to condone, or one doesn't necessarily have to say, oh, that was right. But I feel when one is in that space, one naturally starts connecting with what may be way behind the veil in the other person. And in some part of one's being, if one can be as expansive that I am not there. If I am not there, then everybody appears to me like, children of the mother and little Krishnas. And then it's no longer your ego and my ego. Then it's the mother's love and the children in that space. Okay, I had one more question. You had spoken about at some point in time you were not wanting to paint. You just wanted to do your sadhana, read Upanishads, do chanting. And you used to paint as a child, as a young person, but then you were so much into sadhana and then you became an art teacher. And in Sri Aurobindo and the mother's work, you find so much of importance given to beauty. And that beauty can be a gateway to the soul. And in fact, it's, I feel, the least part that we give importance to on the path of yoga, generically speaking. We run away from colors. When we want to be on the spiritual path, we are all white. We run away from simplicity is fine, but sometimes in Sri Aurobindo, you just don't have simplicity of beauty. Sometimes you have opulence of beauty also. And there are, in fact, paragraphs by Sri Aurobindo where he's praising opulence. The first time when I came across that, I felt, oh, I used to think of opulence as a negative word. It's something one has to get rid of. So while at the same time, Sri Aurobindo and the mother are very clear and rather strict about overcoming desire. They are not, lax or lenient about abolishment of the ego or overcoming desire. But at the same time, there's a celebration of opulence. Like sometimes I've wondered, even Sri Aurobindo's major writings, Synthesis of Yoga, Life Divine, why did he have to almost write it like poetry? Like Savitri, he's writing a poetry, he's writing a poetry. But even all his other works is poetry prose. I don't think there's any work which does not have poetry. Because the way he describes it is,
there's a rhythm.
There's a music, there's a dance, there's a delight, there's a beauty. And there's an opulence. He is never miserly with words. Okay, let me just use one adjective. No, he'll describe it. He's very opulent, he's very precise. Like, how he's putting like jewel stones. So, what is the importance of beauty in sadhana? It can be a distraction. When can it be a distraction? How can it be a distraction? But how can it be a real tool for progress? How can art really be used as a tool for progress? I remember when one of our team members had attended AuroYouth, their favorite session was the pottery session that you had done. So, but at the same time, I also want you to share when it can be a distraction, because I know it can actually be a distraction also. So, what is this path of yoga through beauty and art, and when can it be a distraction?
So now that I have arrived, I would say, with Sri Aurobindo's yoga, I have understood that what art was to me at that time, what it was in between, and how it had its own role and function in my life, in bringing progress to my life. So I think at the very first stage, the function and role of art, which he talks about, now Sri Aurobindo never painted, but he's written these beautiful 6 essays on which form the national value of art. In that, he writes the first function of art is to introduce aesthetics into the life of an individual, beauty. But that is only the first function. And initially in my teenage, I think that was what it was doing. It was introducing me to the delight of beauty. But that was it. And then, but it doesn't stop there. If you continue with art, it also helps you refine. Like, for example, you said you did dance. It helped you refine your personality. When you sing, I'm a Hindustani classical singer. So it helped me. So I feel even when I'm singing, it's like painting in many ways, because there is a certain deepening going on. And there is a rhythm which I sense with both of them. So it refines an individual. It gives a certain character to oneself. But it is the third function which now I have understood. And now when I paint, I only want to do it for that. And that is, he says, if the artist can, beyond the rocks, beyond the trees, beyond the sky, if he can see that supreme intelligence, if he can see that supreme power that lurks, then he has actually, he is a true artist. And that is what is now my search, always to search beyond that tree. So you observe a tree and you draw it, but it is not that. You're trying to search for that soul of the tree. And then even beyond that soul, to search for that universal soul. And then even beyond that universal soul, that transcendent, to search for that. That is the journey that I think that as an art, it's so fulfilling. And it is again a medium, the same thing I could do through singing, the same thing I could do through dance. And all of these arts are so beautiful, poetry. And then when he says that that is the true education of the souls, that is what it means, that it helps you go deeper and deeper and connect to your psychic being.
Now I remember the question I was going to ask you before. You've been using the word psychic being again and again and again. Some of our viewers may not understand what is the psychic being. It feels like from your entire conversation that psychic being is the most important thing. So what is the psychic being?
It is that andar ka dost, that the one that I said, na, and that animation, which Charlie and Dola, which Dola had, it is that andar ka dost. If in very, very simple language
you had to put. Yes.
And it is very rudimentary, but it is that which is there within each one of us, that spark of the divine. and which gives us this very sense of existence. It makes us, as we were discussing, it makes us feel that delight. It makes us understand things. It makes us um, it makes us even connect to emotions, to thoughts, and to even our own body. It is that power. And the more and more we get conscious of it, it starts coming out. It's so beautiful. It has such a sattvic nature that it just sits there, mother says, almost sleeping. But the more and more we turn towards it, it's like a little friend who's there sitting, and we don't even look at it. And we keep on doing all our activities. But the more and more we look at it, the more and more it starts getting friendly. It emerges out. And then it helps us. It's that magical friend who's full of power and who can help us be our best.
You spoke about what Krishna means to you and who Krishna is. I'd also like you to share a little bit if a complete beginner is listening to this podcast. Who is the mother? Because, to a beginner, it can feel very abstract. For me also in the beginning, Sri Aurobindo I could connect to because I was reading Sri Aurobindo. And when you read Sri Aurobindo, you enter into his consciousness. And that's something I could relate to, I could understand, I could connect to. And I understood mother has said the same thing, but in easier language. So I could connect to mother to that extent. It's only after coming to Auroville that I understood that who the mother is, and that only when the quest inside of me to actually manifest Sri Aurobindo's work became so intense that my life was surrounded by mother, 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 mother. But in the beginning, I couldn't quite understand who she is, why is she called the mother. Because, Sri Aurobindo, even though he's universal, he's an avatar, still he has a name like Sri Aurobindo. And in the beginning, everybody would like, surrender to the mother, surrender to the mother. And I couldn't understand what is surrender, what is to the mother. So, if you can also share a couple of stories that will give a very actual sense of what does it mean to be in touch with the mother, particularly for those of us, who have not seen the mother when she was in her physical body. But I'm sure for a lot of us, she's a very living, guiding presence she's very much present. And then one other common question that I get is just like, is Sri Krishna an individual or Sri Krishna a consciousness? Is mother an individual or is mother a consciousness? So who is the mother and how have you experienced her presence in your life?
So, like I told you before, I also did not relate to the mother a lot. It was till I started working with Tara Didi and started compiling the book, and I got to know about the experiences in the ashram. But still, something was missing. It was, I think, mother had to give me one of her experiences. So um, I was coming here. My little daughter, um, she she was I think around 4 or 4.5. She one day told us, we were in Pondicherry. That was, I think, the second time we were in Pondicherry. And she told us that I want to be here within these gray walls. So the ashram, when we were just walking around, I want to live here. So, and she said, there is a school here, a little child. And why don't you? She has just got admission in Mirambika. So I said, okay. And then from we found out there is a school, of course, there's the ashram school. And then we were late for the admission. So from the next year on, I started applying for admission for my daughter. And for 4 years, we kept on applying for her admission. And everybody here told me that it is in those days, mother used to see the child's face. So initially, when the school started, it was only the children of the ashram families who had come. No, there were a lot of families who had come, and there were children playing around. That's how the school started in 1943. And then eventually, mother started admitting outside people who were connected families. So, but she would still see the photograph, and it was mother who admitted them. But now, mother's physical body is not there, so they take. There are trustees, and there is a committee who decides. So I said, I do not have any influence here. And the only person I knew was Tara Didi, but even her words, they were not taking it very seriously. So I said, what is happening? I mean, my child really wants to be here. She's not. So someone told me, just go and pray to her. She is the one who's going to. So I said, okay. And I took up an Anushtan. I was yet in Delhi, when Delhi mein reh rahi thi. And then I took up an Anushtan that from my house, every day, come what may, I will go in the Delhi ashram, I will go to the samadhi there, the relics, and I will do my pranams. And that's how I will begin my, whatever happens. So there are many times that there were certain things happened that, nay, I couldn't go or something, but I still, so for 6 months, I did that. And that was that particular year. I did that. And then after that, I just left it to the mother. Now, if it's your call, you would like to, because there is a struggle. There was still a struggle within me that I wanted it. It was me who wanted it, or my child is wanting it, and that kind of a thing. So I do not think my surrender was total in that. And after that, I just left it to the mother. And then I said, Ki, Ma, if you would like us to be here, I do not want to do these anushtans. And I as a person also got a little tired. And I said, if you want us here, Ma, then you will call us here. And I will do my best that I can. And that's it. And that was the last year of my trying for her admission. It was the 5th year. And by then, my daughter was 10 years old. And I remember that we were in the dining hall. We were doing volunteering. We used to come and stay here in summers in the park guest house. And we used to, so I used to volunteer. My daughter was also volunteering. She was just, people can put their spoons, that glass she would hold. And I was wiping the thalis in the. And it was at that time when I was wiping, there's these very big photographs of the mother, that they have kept. And everybody is very quietly wiping the thalis. And as I was wiping it, I felt that, I was like doing my Guru Seva, like at that time. And that was an experience that came to me. It was such a solid, concrete experience where I felt that she is there everywhere. And, my Guru has almost melted into her. So maybe it was till then, I still had this bheda, no? I still had this distinction between her and my Guru. I was not able to relate to her still. And that everything almost just dissolved that particular day. I think it was the afternoon. And after that, it was there was nothing but her. And I had made a decision whether, decision in the sense that thing just came as a thought, as the most beautiful thought that I will be dying in this place. Like, if I leave my body, it is only in Pondicherry that I'll be. I had not yet moved to Pondicherry. And I was walking out of the ashram. And it was that year, it was summer, no, in July. It was on Guru Purnima day only that I came to know of my daughter getting admission here. And it was, I think, the most beautiful experience of where I was holding. It was not, so who is she? She is that divine conscious force. When Kapali Shastri asked this question to Sri Aurobindo, it was a very profound question that you're asking. Who is the mother? He also asked that this lady who has come from France and everybody was calling her Mera Alfasa, Sri Aurobindo started calling her the mother in 1926. It's 100th year of the ashram. It's 2026 now. So, and Sri Aurobindo started calling her the mother, and all the other people also started calling her the mother because Sri Aurobindo started calling her the mother. And so he said, is this the mother means, is she the divine mother? Means in our Indian cultural tradition, we say the divine Shakti. Then Sri Aurobindo wrote that yes, she is the divine. He wrote a letter to him, and she is the divine conscious force. The mother whom we adore is the divine conscious force. He wrote the 6th chapter of the book, The Mother. That is the answer. And yes, she is. And in many ways, since then, so she has helped in each and every way. She has welcomed. And then I recognized that what were the signs of her welcoming us here, and how she gives the strength. She also gives the money. When I was coming from Delhi to here, we were a little scarce of money, and I wanted to help my husband also. So in shifting, so the money for the packers and movers, we had an old piano which my daughter used to play. So it was very strange. I've never put things on the Facebook, and I just put. Somebody said that, why don't you put it on the Facebook? It was a second-hand piano. Who's going to buy a second-hand piano? And I had bought it at a very low amount, but I still quoted a higher amount because it was in a good condition. The third day, I got a call, and that amount that we earned from that sale was the packers and movers charge that I. So she did not even let us feel any pinch. So then I realized that the more and more you surrender to that force which is there, whether you recognize it or not, she is the divine conscious force in each and every one, whether you pray to her or not. The more and more you get conscious of it, she activates.
The most that I have really felt her, experienced her, is really at work. That's one space where I've really felt that something else that takes charge, organize, and it's a delight to see her work, how she arranges things, how she really makes things happen, how she uses every kind of instrument in its own way. I'd like to ask from you, in your experience of work, particularly with the New Dawn movie, which I feel was quite a feat, to have some 18,000 plus hand painted frames, to do it with this kind of perfection and this kind of beauty, and also a movie that a lot of seekers really, it's a shot only to do it very precisely, also to do it in the language that the youth the modern day seeker sort of relates to, because it's a very audiovisual generation. And to do it with deep sanctity, like some of the visuals in the film, like those petals, or Aurobindo walking on those petals, or the Sri Krishna, they've been just embedded, etched into your memory. And I'm also not somebody who's watched it like 50 number of times. It's just the very first time you watched it, some of those visuals, like Mother India with those chains, and yeah, some of those visuals are so strong and so powerful. One could really feel that they have come from another space, and they just like tuck, like one could really sense the psychic space behind those visuals. And they really enter deep within. I'm sure making a movie like that for a small entity, it is not like you are a big film production house, or you were an expert in fundraising, or you were an expert in social media marketing. To put something of such high quality together as a group of seekers, I'm sure that's where you must have obtained number of times felt, Mother's grace, Mother's force, Mother's power, and be amazed by her magic. And I'm sure at Mirambika as well. So I'd like you to share, what does it mean when one begins to sense? Of course, like now when I look back, even the times where I was not even thinking of divine's work, I still now see that even when I was, say, the president of my department in college, whatever work that I was doing, I now see she was the one who was training me. It was still she only who was doing it even at that time when I had no notion of divine Shakti. But now I see it even more that, wow, how she works is, especially at work, her presence is very, very, it becomes very tangible at work. So I want you to share that experience, and also for how can people know, or how can people get in touch with her presence at work?
I think first for the New Dawn film, I think it was the mother's project. It was her project. And as you said, we were not a great production house, or we were not so talented maybe in filmmaking. It was our first venture. Of course, we had Manoj Pavitran with us, and we had a good studio, Exorus, who's one of the best animators in the country. But we had no funds, and we uh, we had Sri Aurobindo Society that was backing us. That was a great help. But yet were we were real amateurs, I would say. And I think for us, every time it was only that we would pray to her, and we would start, and she would somehow maneuvered it, like how you said in work, how she. So it's almost like maneuvering each movement of yours, and we realize the more and more we surrender to that force, because at times if it is our ego that is coming into play, it is at that time I felt that she takes a back step. And then so one has to be very careful and cautious of the treading that one does. And the more and more surrendered we were, and the more and more in harmony we were as a team, the more she worked wonders. And it was in fundraising. We started with 0 rupees, and we collected around 2.6 crores. It was a great feat for us because we totally clueless of how to do that, of how to do a crowdfunding project. And it was a days that there was no money coming, and we would go and pray at the Samadhi. And the next day, 100 rupees would come. But that 100 rupees, I think it is not the amount. That money would be so much full of aspiration. No aspiration of that person who wants to see the story of Sri Aurobindo up as a as a film that worked, and it was kind of, it set it into motion, and that aspiration would get us the next day. It was miraculous because it would get us 1 lakh, and that's how the movement used to work. So for us, we had to keep our regular connect with her. That is also very important. And I think that is the sacred part, getting connected to her and then allowing her to work within you, to become plastic, no, to that, to become very open to her, so that her force can come, or that is which is already there in you, can start working. So that was uh, what happened with the New Dawn film.
You mentioned praying a few times. I know it's a very simplistic question, but I also want you to talk about what does it mean to truly pray? What is prayer? Because, many times it is understood as you want to ask something from God, you go to God. And a lot of us feel that, oh, what can I give to God? God is everything. So all I can do is I can ask. And then a lot of times it becomes about asking around one's desires. Whereas I feel true prayer has nothing to do with this. So what is prayer? Because if there's one thing which is common across India, different religions, different groups of people, even atheists in some ways, I feel they pray to the universe. Praying is something that ties all of us together. So what is prayer? And along with that, second question that I was wanting to, or maybe first you respond to this.
So for me, I think I felt this strength of what is a prayer back then, when there was this fear. I was, I think, in my late 20s, early 30s maybe. This fear of death had entered into me. My husband's brother just passed away. And he passed away, he had a cardiac arrest and he passed away. And when I had, yes, there are many deaths that take place around you, but this was a very close death, and no one had really died in my family like that. And where, I had to, so it was not actually so much of fear in seeing the dead body or something like that. I went through the rituals also that they had to go through. But it was after that, I thought that even I will have a cardiac arrest, because it suddenly, that fear, like a very deep fear, it seeped into me. It was a, mother says fear is falsehood. It was a falsehood that had entered into me. And then I did not know what to do, because every day at 4 o'clock in the morning, that was the time when he had died. His heart had, cardiac arrest means that your heart just stops beating. You do not know why. It just stops. It could happen to anybody. So I would just place my hand on my chest, and I would feel that, is my heart beating or not? So that kind of a fear had gripped. So my nights were very sleepless. And it was very strange kind of a thing, that suddenly, what has this happened? Where is this fear happened? And I tried to read the Upanishads and through Vedanta say that, I'm not the body. And, all of that. I was still not so much connected to Sri Aurobindo and the mother at that time. But it wasn't helping. Nothing was helping. So, like, I'm the immortal self and I'm that, I'm that. It wasn't helping. So at that time, I just suddenly started praying. I prayed to Hanumanji, because that is also somebody in, Hanuman Chalisa is something that in North India, all families, we all do. So that was a prayer that was taught to me. And I started doing the Hanuman Chalisa and the Sundarkand, but with a lot of devotion. And I started asking Hanuman that, just like you had the strength and the fearlessness, I want your fearlessness. and you had the courage, to cross over the ocean, find Mother Sita, and you know uh, um, reduce her sorrows and help her out, help Ram out. Can you also help me out? I'm really, really sinking right now. And I prayed with a lot of fervent devotion. Again, it was extremely intense. Hours I would do it. And then what happened to me was that after 1.5 years of praying like that, it was almost for 1.5 years that I prayed like that every day, r- having that, it. I landed up in a discourse of Ramayana that was by my guru's Guru Behan, and she says it very beautifully. It was a 20-day discourse, which I went and attended. I stayed there, and then during the whole Ramayana, as she's actually a Vedanti, and but she loves to narrate the Ramayana also, and it's very sweet. It's extremely sweet the way. So it was Tulsi Ramayana, and throughout the Ramayana, I think there were these tears of. I think it was this purification that was happening. That falsehood was going away, and so it was, I felt that prayer led me to that. And after that, that fear has just disappeared from my life. It was such a beautiful purification. And that was, you could say, a formal prayer that I took up the Hanuman Chalisa or the Sundarkand. But now, so that led me to this deep faith in this presence, no, in this consciousness that is there. It could be in the form of Hanuman, it can be in the form of Krishna. And now that I have discovered the mother, it is in the form of the mother, that you just call out to her in whatever language. And it is not necessary, it has to be in Sanskrit or in any language. You just call out, no, you just, and that is a prayer, because everybody is in distress. The whole world, you could be, we are all trying to go towards perfection. We are all wanting to progress. Nobody wants to live in dukkha, but it somehow some things seep in sometimes. So just calling out, and for those who, I think, don't believe in the mother, just calling out to that God whom you believe to, that higher power that whom you believe to. Just like a little child, when he is in distress, he calls out to her mother, no? And then the mother just listens to that call, and she leaves everything in the kitchen or whatever she's doing, and she will just come running. It is the same. She comes running. It is just dependent on your sincere call. And I have felt it in my life. And it also, you've had a fight in your family. You just go and sit in your room, you quietly sit and you just pray to her. You just call out to her. And you just see that how um, you can first quieten down, because you need her presence to quieten down all uh, the outer uh, limitations that you have, and bring out that inner friend, that psychic being, that little mother, whoever you call it, that little one who can help you out. And then you see how, even if there has been a disharmony in your family or in your workspace or wherever, it just harmonizes. It only depends on your sincere call. That is the power of prayer.
I want to ask you a related question. Ever since I came to Sri Aurobindo and the mother, there were two significant things. One was the year I came to Sri Aurobindo and the mother, it was one of the best years of my lives. And I say lives, I mean, I'm sure, previous many lifetimes prepared me for this point. And that year, I just remember just being with Sri Aurobindo and the mother. So I was reading a lot of Sri Aurobindo's works at that time. Ocean, the sea, Mother Ocean. I really connected to Pondicherry Sea. In fact, I connected to that at that time more than I connected to Samadhi. For me, going to the ocean felt like that's the mother talking to me. And reading Sri Aurobindo. It took me time for me to relate to their photographs, to relate to Samadhi. And yet that was the time when I was closest to them. It's like something which is etched in my memory. But after that, two significant challenges have happened in life. The first was I felt like I was sitting on the top of Sri Aurobindo and the mother's works, but I did not know now what. How do you, for the lack of a better word, implement this? Because Life Divine felt too high and everything in the Life Divine felt perfect. I said, हाँ यही करना चाहिए, यही करना चाहिए, ऐसा ही, ऐसा ही. And everything in Mother's works also felt perfect. I wasn't able to understand now what do I do? Because I had come to Pondicherry, giving up on my past life, career, and I wanted to do something, but what do I do? So that was the first crisis. The response to that crisis I found in the form of Auroville, the mother, found my purpose path. The second crisis happened about 3 years ago, because until that point in time, since the day I came to Sri Aurobindo and the mother, it just felt like there was her grace. I was feeling her grace at work and in my own life, in every dimension of my life. And it really felt like a very golden, blessed time. And this thing sort of also coincided with Auroville going through a tough time. I think I became because, just like you, I'm a very intense person. So I had become very intensely into Purnam, into Auroville. No children, no husband, no, parents also live away. All friends, I make them work. So they're no longer friends, they're colleagues. So this had become my life. And at that time, another crisis happened. And it surprised me. I was like, wow, all the things I thought are no longer there were there. And I was quite happily surprised. कि अच्छा, for instance, in my family, my mother, my grandmother, they've had a struggle with sleeping. I suddenly couldn't fall asleep either. So I had to deal with insomnia. And there were things that were showing up inside of me, like extreme attachment to somebody. I never thought that is even possible, especially after coming to Mother and Sri Aurobindo. I never thought it's possible. Maybe prior to that, I'm a normal human being. Everything is possible. So possible. Never thought that I can be so attached and it can bother me so much and I can cry like a baby. So that was my second, I was like, wow, on the path. And now, just like I found my breakthrough out of the first crisis, now I'm finding my breakthrough out of the second crisis also. So I wanted to ask you that, maybe for some people, life is all hunky-dory, even after coming to Sri Aurobindo and the mother. For me, it was not. I had this first crisis, and I think the second crisis was the most significant one because my emotions were intensely involved. Were there some of these unexpected crises in your life where you felt that, no, now I've come to Sri Aurobindo and the mother, now, now nothing can go wrong? And just at that time, life teaches you no. And what really helped you come out of it? If you don't want to share certain private details, that's completely fine. But I do feel that if people like myself, not just on the path of integral yoga, on any path that they have chosen, and they have chosen with immense intensity, with immense aspiration, with immense commitment, and if they are finding themselves struggling, it could even be the path of that one is genuinely wanting to be a good Hindu, a good Christian, a good Muslim. I mean, at any point in time, if it becomes a genuine sadhana, then it goes beyond religion. So, or it could be any person on the traditional yogic path also, that in the beginning it was a little bit of a honeymoon period and then they're facing a certain crisis. What would you have to tell them? And if you can share something from your own personal experience that can help them sort of overcome this in a battle, in crisis.
Yes, there have been many, many crises. It's not one. Um, I think at every stage, the crisis can be looked at as a crisis, as something that's very, very uncomfortable. And yet, if one looks at it with the attitude of a sadhak, then that crisis is no longer a crisis, but a step for growth. And that's what I think it always has happened, that yes, there have been crises, and there have been n number of crises after I have moved to Pondicherry. More crises. So it could be at workplace, it could be in the family. But I think what has helped me is also the close vicinity of mother's presence, and immediate wanting to contact her and to tell her to help me, not to look at this crisis as crisis, but to um, to make me more open to her force and let her do the thing. Otherwise, it's going to be my crisis, and I am suffering, and um, unpleasantness, disharmony. So, because nobody likes it, no? The crisis nobody likes, and everyone wants to. We all strive to get out of it because we want to be joyous, we want to be in harmony, we want to be doing her work. So it is also this thing of doing her work that has helped me. If it is a physical crisis, I could share one physical crisis that I had. So uh, I going through my menopause stage, and I was asked to, go in for a scan and to go in to see, because I suddenly menstruated after a year. So many women my age have this kind of an issue. And for me, it was, oh, I have done my yogic asanas and I have led such a sattvic life, and still this is happening. But, well, I had to, so I was advised to go to Jipmer, which is a government hospital, central government hospital, and I have never been there. So I have tried to stay away from allopathy medicine as much as possible, going into natural streams, and also to let the mother work in you and uh, try to heal you in the physical domain, which is very difficult. No, the physical domain is so tough. So it was. I was advised to go to the hospital, and in the hospital, I was. I did not know anybody. People told me that, oh, you take some contacts from the ashram. I did not have any contacts. And I did not feel like taking any contacts from the ashram. It just struck me that I have one contact that is it could be the most helpful. And I said, it is the mother. How can I forget? what are these people telling me? The ashram people and the ashram community, and everybody is telling me that take somebody's contact. But nobody told me to take mother's contact. If she is there, if she is the divine conscious force, then won't that divine conscious force also help me if I ask her? No? So just like she's helping everybody around. So I just went to Jipmer without any contact, stood there in the lines, and then I observed the miracles that started happening. I was sitting there in the queue, and my new file had opened, and I just went to check inside in the gynae ward, and I asked them that I'm just sitting here for 20 minutes and I have not got a call or anything. Is there? And that there was this nurse, she said, "Oh, which is your file?" I said, "It's a new file." So she went into the new sessions. She asked me my name. And then she said, my file was sitting right under. It was the bottommost file. She did not even ask me anything. She just put it on top. And she ran away from there. She disappeared. And I said, "But what did you do?" She just said, "Wait." And then, so I waited there. Then another nurse came and she called out my name because my name was on the top. And I got my chance. So this is, and all those people were sitting out. They were sitting for 2 hours more. They said, "What happened? Like you just went in and you never came out." And so that day, I just so quickly finished everything. And I had a biopsy also. But it happened all so quickly and with so much of presence, as if someone is looking after you. I went all alone to do a biopsy. People said, "Take someone along with you. You have no, people take their husbands. People take, oh, you're a woman. You have to take someone." I said, "Okay, then maybe I'll." Because in the hospital also, they don't allow you if you don't have someone along with you. So if you're just an individual person, you can't go. So I had to hire somebody. I paid somebody 600 rupees or something so that they can sit there outside. That person doesn't even know me. She's like she's one of those nurses, whom you can hire. And she was sitting outside and she just has to sign on my file that I'm sitting with her. Like I'm there if something happens to me. And so it is she who gave me that courage to go into a government hospital where I have no one. I did not even know the doctor who's operating on me. And I just went in there and I felt so much of her with each breath when they were doing the biopsy, because I was in my consciousness. There was only Ma coming out, and they were holding my hand and they were like, "Oh, I think you're a devotee. You are just," because that was my only way to even subdue the pain, to only call her. And so in any moment of crisis, why I said physical crisis is because that is something that everyone suffers from. And it we really lend too much to others. Even the doctor's power starts getting activated if the spiritual power is with you. There was a veggie in Delhi who told me, "Beta, hamari dawai kaam nahi karti hai, dua kaam karti hai. Dawa nahi, dua kaam karti hai." So it is that, and that I really felt it here more and more, that yes, there will be more crisis because there is an accelerated evolution that is taking place here. It is not a normal evolution.
Right.
No, it is much more than what was happening to me in my traditional sadhana also. Because there also my Guruji kept me with him those 2.5 years. There was an accelerated progress. But when he left me, it was, I have to do everything. So then my progress started falling. But then Here, it is, we don't have to hold on to the mother holds on to you. It is like as if she's the cat, like Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Sri Aurobindo says that is the baby cat attitude, that she's holding on to you. And if we feel that we are holding on to her, then we really have to check our surrender, our states of surrender. Because the more and more we feel that she's holding on to me, then we give her the opportunity to do what she wants to do. And that is what I think it's the greatest surrender is Sharanagati. That is the greatest Purusharth also, because to do that Sharanagati, and that is what I think here, if we get an opportunity to do that, we can feel her presence more and more and more. In every aspect. This was just a very small aspect that I narrated.
Okay, I think with that, we come to a closure of today's conversation. I really felt a lot of silence in this conversation, a lot of love, a sparkle in your eye, a radiance in your face, a certain luminosity, a certain sense of rhythm, beauty, harmony. Thank you for sharing with us all that you did. I was deeply moved and deeply touched. Thank you.
Thank you, Divyanshi.
I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I could really feel a very palpable presence throughout this episode, and I hope that very palpable presence of silence and love reached out to you as well. I would love to hear from you. What were some of the key takeaways, some of the key insights for you from this podcast? Please do share it in the comments so that we can all learn from each other.